Okay, so that takes care of those two side cuts. Looking at our level manager, maybe things are getting a little bit busy over here again, so let's maybe clean some of the stuff up. I'm going to create a new level, level 2, and let's call this side cuts. And I'm going to hold down my shift key and select, shift key, select. Select all that wireframe, right click, and we're going to move this. Not yet, I guess active level will work here. Number 2 is the active level. Side cuts, move, green check. So all those side cut geometry pieces are now placed on level 2. And I can turn that off. Looks good. Okay, next up, we're going to do some window creation. So I am trying to move rather quickly through this part here. I'm trying to keep this video reasonably not too long in length. So forgive me if I'm working a little quicker than normal. Okay, so I'm going to pick another new level. And this one we're going to go with, let's say, window geometry. It's the active level with the check mark. And the first thing I'm going to do is do some curve on one edge there. Oh, I made a mistake. I'm still in 2D. Let's go back to 3D. Now it's coming up on the edge. Very important that 3D is enabled there. And there, that edge, and that edge. I guess we could do this front edge as well here. I'm undecided. I'm going to go with no. We'll delete it afterwards. Okay. Okay, so first up, let's create the window on this side. So what I'm going to do is take these edges that I just made, and I'm going to offset them inside of themselves to create a new profile that's evenly offset 100 thou inside. So what we're going to use for that is the offset chains function. Offset chains, to do it correctly, we need to have the plane set to the plane in which we want this offset to happen in. So what that means is if I want to offset geometry on this face of the model and have it accurately move in, I need to have a plane to represent this face. So let's do that now. Again, plane creation. Just going to click anywhere on this face. I'm not concerned with where this is as far as X, Y, and Z. I'm only really after is the orientation of Z. It's normal to this face. Let's give this a name. We'll go with driver side window. These origins we'll leave as is for now. We'll end up moving those later. And just down here, make sure we are set to have this changed to WCS, C-plane, and T-plane after creation. Okay, so that's good. Let's go ahead and hop into our offset chain function. It's asking here, what plane do you want to offset? Let's switch over to C-plane selection and grab that. That way it grabs all the way around with one click. Hit OK, indicate the offset direction. Basically just kind of line yourself up at the top, and if you click inside somewhat, it should see the inside offset that you're after. If not, you might need to change the direction here between opposite and defined, depending on which way it thought you clicked. So all I'm going to do here is update my distance to 100 thou. And this is set to a copy, that's fine. And we're good there, so green check. I'm going to do a right click and clear colors to get everything back to green. And there's somewhat of our window. We've got another piece to add over here, but we'll get to that later. Let's do the same thing on the opposite side. So first thing, create a plane. Let's give it a name. Passenger side window. Not worried about the origin, and just make sure we're set to WCS, C-plane, T-plane after creation. Green check. Again, offset chains. Still set to C-plane. Grab that geometry, hit OK. Indicate the offset direction. Just try and get yourself normal and click inside. And the 100 thou should be there from before. Make sure you're set to copy and click OK. So again, we're all good. Right click, clear colors. Everything's green. So far, so good. Let's do the windshield. Same thing. Make a plane. Anywhere on here, doesn't matter. Let's maybe do the alignment in X and Y just because it is so far out. So I'm going to click on the ball of this plane and I'm going to anchor it to this corner. Now I want to rotate about Z. So I'm going to grab the blue corner right there. And now I can kind of move my Y around and I'm going to anchor it to the opposite corner. Okay. And that's all we need to worry about there. Let's give this a name. WS for windshield. I'm not going to worry about origin. Again, make sure you're set to WCS, C-plane, T-plane after creation. Green check. Same thing, let's go into our offset chains. Set the C-plane. Grab anything here. Looks like I need to help mine around. Okay. Green check. Offset direction, inside, 100 thou. Everything looks good. Green check. Clear colors again. So you can see why I didn't want to include this front edge, because this is not where we want this windshield to end. We need to move it up here somewhat. So let's do that now. And we'll use the line parallel for that. So line parallel, let's grab this front edge. Now we can just kind of drag it wherever we want and get an idea of where we want to place it. So I think if you look at pictures of the truck, it does kind of end where the side windows end, but maybe up a tiny bit. So I'm just going to ballpark it and pick there. Give it a round number. I'm going to call it 0.6. Okay, so we do need to do some trimming over here now. I'm going to go with, let's go trim 2. Select inside, 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 and inside. Okay. Now that thing right there we can get rid of, so let's just select it and click delete. Now to finish off our windows, we need the back edge of that guy right there, which we drew in the initial part. So for this, let me just go to a wireframe here. That's the piece of geometry we're after right there. That's the back window we drew initially when we drew this stuff up. Oh, let me get back to the correct plane here. Let's get to the right side. When we drew this line in here to represent the back of the window. So the thing to keep in mind with this guy, so I'm going to do a project, and when you're doing projects, whatever you select is going to project normal to the plane that you're in. So if I'm in a top plane, sorry, let's go to the top plane here, and I select project, even though I want to project it onto the side of the car, it's going to want to project it up in Z. So keep that in mind when you're doing projections. It's going to follow the Z of your active plane. So for this, I want this to project out and onto this surface over here, but I want it to go in that direction, straight in that direction. And that is the right plane. So that's the Z there. I want it to project it in that direction. Let's go back to here. So it ends up on this face. Okay, so let's go through this here. I'm going to go into project. Again, right side is WCS, C, and T. Project. I think I had the geometry selected there, so it skipped over a step. Project. First thing, select the entities you want to project. Go into a wireframe and grab that guy right in the middle. That guy. And selection. Over in our options, we're going down to surface solids. And here it says basically what do you want to project to, what surface. So back to solid shading. That face there. And selection, there you can see it got projected up onto that surface in the right plane normal direction. So that's all good. Blue check mark to accept, because I'm going to do another projection. What do you want to project? Wireframe, that guy in the middle we drew, and selection. Where do you want to project to? Surfaces, select the surface, back to shading for solids, select this face, green check, and we're good. Let's do a clear colors again. So now we can go in and do some more trimming. Let's do the trim 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Again, always clicking on the thing you want to keep when you're doing the trim 2 function. So there's our side window. windshield, side window, and we can now do extrudes for those. So back to the thing I mentioned about extrudes. We don't need to set a plane for our extrude function because the geometry we select will create the plane for the extrude to happen normal too. So I don't need to worry about my planes right now. I can just hop straight into extrude. And let's grab this side window over here first. And hit OK. So right now it's set to cut body, which is good, but it's going the wrong way. So let's flip that around here so it goes into the car. That's obviously way too deep. So we're going to not go through all. We're going a set distance. And for these, I'm going to go 20 thou. 20? Yeah, I think 20 thou is good. But just to give it a little bit more visual, appealing look to it, I'm going to go over to the Advanced tab, and I'm going to give this some draft. I'm going to give this 45 degrees of draft. And depending on some selection options in there, you may need to either check or uncheck reverse. Okay, so that should be tapering down into the pocket like so. And that all looks good there. Blue check. So I'm going to be doing the exact same thing for the other windows. Let's grab the windshield, green check. Let's just flip that around. It's going the wrong way. So make sure it's going into the car and your draft is tapering in. Green check. And the last one there. And that looks good as well. Green check. So there's our windows all taken care of.